Hey everyone. So now that I don't have the kids, have a little bit more time, and it's not raining, mostly actually. Having a little bit more time to go look at some home options. Um, those of you not from LA, trying to find the perfect place for you and your family is somewhat a difficult prospect in some ways. Hello, hello. Good evening or good afternoon for me. How's everyone doing? Welcome. Just letting this thing load for a second because we're just getting everyone notified. Hello, Tony. Hello, Benny Lovely. I hope I'm saying that name right. Hello, Trisha. Hello, Maylette. Hopefully I said that right. And Beth. So I'm still looking around at homes. It's fairly difficult to find something that I want, something I like, something within the price range I want to pay. And then also location is specific. So I'm at a home option number 2. This is a 4-bedroom house with both a front and backyard. The front yard is not fenced, but the backyard is. There's a guest house in the back, fairly small one, which I like. There's not a lot of options for guest house, maybe like 4 or 5 in the city. Those are the ones I'm looking at first. -3 degrees, Caroline. I know that type of weather well. When I used to run at Eastern Oregon University, the limit in which I could run outside was 0 degrees. So I'd have to run on a treadmill inside if it was colder than that. So I'm gonna show you guys home option number 2. My process when I'm looking at places, I like to drive around the neighborhood. I like to, especially since this is where my kids are gonna live, I like to see what's around, the neighbors, the community. This home is, unless I'll schedule a time to come see it, but I'm just driving by. And my only reluctance to this place is it's a little bit farther outside my radius. So a little background on how I came to this conclusion. But I used to live in West Hollywood. West Hollywood's kind of in the center of LA. And over time, my business pretty much developed and all my patients were on the west side. So Palisades, Santa Monica, Brentwood, Beverly Hills, Malibu. So and those of you that know, I primarily go to people's homes and treat them in their own home. So I'm kind of what we call a concierge doctor. So for me, drive time's important because when I lived in West Hollywood, for example, and it would take me 50 minutes to get from West Hollywood to the other side of town where I was renting a clinical space in my office. I still rent it now, but I don't use it that much. And so 50 minutes one way. So oftentimes I could have, say, 3 to 5 patients in the morning, and then I have this 3 or 4 hour chunk in the middle of the day that I'm not busy, and then I'd be busy in the evening. Well, that would equate to about 2 hours, maybe sometimes 2.5 hours of spending time in the car driving. That's fairly inefficient from a time management standpoint. I used to like it because I would just listen to audiobooks. I would just listen to lectures. I would learn a lot. I need to get back to that, but I haven't been doing as much because my mind's full and, stress of this year and everything else. That's why I have more great white hair. But this particular place is about 30 minutes from my patients. So, which means that it is more square footage, more offering for a lower price, but now I'm going to have to spend probably at least an hour and a half, 2 hours a day in the car. So that's something I've got to consider. We moved to Santa Monica because I wanted to make sure that I could get home easy and spend more time with the kids and just make sure that it's easy and seamless. So most of my patients where I live now are usually within 10-15 minute drive. So it's really easy to just duck in and duck out. But this one, it looks like it's pretty nice on the inside, fully renovated, has a beautiful backyard, lots of vegetation, but it's also, dang, now I'm going to be driving 30 minutes to each of my patients rather than just dipping in, dipping out. So, that's just kind of giving an update when as far as the mentality I have when looking into my kids. So I'm kind of torn right now. Do I get a bigger, better home with a yard for the kids and spend more time driving, which ultimately means that I likely would have to spend, I would likely get less time with the kids, which I don't like. Or do I get something a little bit smaller that might not have a yard and be closer to my patients so I can spend more time actually doing productive things like with my kids? So, or doing paperwork or doing lectures or that kind of stuff. These are the kind of factors that I'm thinking about. So I'm going to show you guys this house. I can't go inside, but it gives you an idea of what I'm looking at. And also, those of you who don't live in LA is a different beast. It's 60 miles across. So the location you live and rent is, expensive. Like I think this one is like $6,500, which is still $1,000 cheaper than I'm paying now, but I'll have to spend more money in gas and less time with the kids. So, I'm open to comments on what you guys think. What do you think I should prioritize? Bigger yard or yard and more space, or less space and easier on me? I am considering. So I won't be able to show you guys much of this one. It's all the windows are all shut down. You can't see inside. I know what it looks like inside because of the pictures. But essentially, it's this guy. This is the front yard, and this is the house. In the back is the garage and guest house. This place is a 4-bedroom, if I remember right. 4-bedroom with a guest house. So that's a whole lot of space, and I can have my family come from Oregon and stay with me from time to time, or most likely with the guest house, it's like I'll get an au pair so that they have their own little place. So I'm looking at, one of my patients is a realtor. I've been working with him for years, and his son. My son's now playing college football, D1 college football. So that's how I met him, back when I was kind of doing some volunteer work for the private schools around here. Probably smaller with a yard closer to your patients so you can see. Well, see, that's kind of the hard thing. If you get smaller, you're not going to get a yard. There's not in where I'm at in Santa Monica, if you're trying to get a house with a yard, you're probably looking at easily like $10,000 a month, which is not justifiable, really. There's homes in the neighborhood around that are $25,000 a month to rent, and you can get all the way up to like $150,000 a month to rent, just to rent. That's not buying or anything. Definitely a yard. Be patient. 30 minutes doesn't seem like it's too bad. But when you have to do that, like on some days, I might see only 5 patients that day, but they're spread out inefficiently. And so I'd have to make that trip maybe 2-3 times, and that's just 30 minutes one way. That's not, and you got to factor in traffic and stuff. So if it's like a Wednesday at 5 o'clock, it might be 45 minutes. So you like this house so far? I'm going to go look at another one after this. I have some patients this evening. But I had like 4 hours to do something productive, and I wanted to come look at this place. This place is, it's kind of about, 4 or 5 miles south of Beverly Hills. Yeah, another option is just get a place near a playground where I can just walk across the street and go to the playground. That's always an option. Need a big yard, put a portable tool back there. Uh, I'm not a big fan of pools with at least in like pools that are too easily accessible. I have a pool at my apartment place right now, but it's down on I'm on the third floor. It's down on the base floor, and there's gates, and you have to have a key to get in. So it's not like even if June was like 5 years old, she wouldn't be able to get down there by herself. Um, my nephew actually drowned in a pool, so an above ground pool. So you know, I'm not going to let history repeat itself in that one. Big yards are important to my kids, but there's also like do I do it? Do I do that now, or do I just wait another year, like get a condo or something bigger? I need something bigger without a doubt. Like I'm in a 2 bedroom right now, and it's just too small. I got to get a third bedroom. I'd like to have an office because I do a lot of work in my office, which is now my bedroom. So 2 bedroom, like 3 bedrooms is basically non-negotiable. But there's plenty of that on the west side. It's just you're looking at apartment complexes basically, or very small homes like 800 to 1,000 square feet. And I need probably 13 to 1,500 square feet at minimum. So if anybody lives in LA and you know a hidden gem, you never know this about LA until you actually come here and spend time here. But there's like, LA is not just one city. It is actually all bunch of little cities all over the place. For example, I think I lived here for like 2.5 years before I had heard of this little community called Cheviot Hills, which is actually where that first house was that I looked at. Let's see, am I in LA or Long Beach? I'm in LA. I'm in right now I live in Santa Monica, which I want to stay in. Those of you guys that also don't know LA, as far as education wise, public schools in LA are atrocious, which includes where I'm at now, which isn't really a big deal until you get into middle school and high school. But the best public schools, if you're not going to go the private school route, which is somewhere between $20,000 and $40,000 a month, I mean a year, the best schools there are the Palace. From a public school perspective, are Beverly Hills, Santa Monica, and the Palisades. So, even if I moved out here to give them a yard for the next couple years, eventually I would have to move again, and hopefully that would be when I buy a house to put them in the right school district. Palmdale's just way too far. Palmdale, that would just be way too far. If I was going to live in Palmdale, I would probably have to make one trip a day, stay gone all day, and not come home until I was finished for the day, which is not what I want to do. I have done that before and it sucked. Yeah, 3 bedrooms definitely. I'm even considering getting 4 bedrooms because I'm still toying with the idea of a au pair. I have started the process with an agency. We will see. I like to like kind of sit and figure out what's the best option, and I like to sit and just think and go with my gut. What happened to the first house? Nothing. I just, I put in my application. We got to understand, there's not a lot of homes that are like being rented in LA. Most of the homes are already bought and they're just not up for rent at this moment. Mostly people live in apartments here and that kind of stuff. So when there's a home and it's a decent home for a reasonable price, they'll get like 15 applicants on a home like that. So, you know, and generally management companies and that kind of stuff, even though I make good money, they look at somebody that's an employee as more stable. And that was my issue last time we moved, is they were like, even though I made enough to cover, like obviously I could afford the place, they went That happened last time. I was going to get a house in a yard, and we ended up moving to where we are now because we got denied for this home that I absolutely loved. And their only reason was we went for we had another applicant that was an employee, and I think they were an employee of some tech company or something, and they just looked at that as more stable. So those of you that are self-employed, you know the struggle of people being a little bit hesitant of self-employment. My sister has a house, 900 in Fountain Valley. Okay, 900,000. Gotcha, I think. All schools in America are behind globally, so I would agree. Absolutely. We talk about being, the best of this or the best of that, but our education system is truly terrible. I know that firsthand. I'm actually have a degree in education, and I have taught at universities, my chiropractic university to be specific, and they just don't teach people to critically think anymore. This is probably about 20 minutes from June's school. So that's a consideration as well, because not only am I going to have to drive to patients, I'm going to have to drive to June's school. But we could always change the schools too. Yeah, playground option is the one. I just kind of started off at looking at exactly what I wanted, which is a house and a yard, and see if I could find anything that makes me go like, yeah, I want to live there. The first one, yes, I put in my application. We'll see. Yeah, middle school is where education truly starts becoming more important. What's the house prices in LA? It totally depends. If you're talking about renting, you can get apartments here. If anybody's trying to move to LA, just so you had an idea of what it's like to live here, you could rent a room in somebody's apartment or house, and that's going to range you from anywhere from $900 to about $1,500 a month just to rent a room. And then most apartments start at like one bedrooms, like maybe 2,000 or maybe a little bit less. Now, granted, I'm talking about the areas that I've lived. There's cheaper areas that are farther away from what I need. And then you can get places, I had one patient that was on Sunset, and he was in like a 3-bedroom apartment, and he said it was $25,000 a month. And I was like, dang, for an apartment? Buy a house, an option. Not for me, not yet. It's not a good time to buy right now, specifically here in LA and across the country. Interest rates are the highest they've been in a very long time, and the prices of homes haven't came down. So you have a high price of home and a high interest rate. It doesn't make sense to buy right now, especially in a market like LA where the prices are fairly high anyways, so they don't just generally come down. If I was in Texas or if I was in any other state, then I'd be buying a home right now. Safe neighborhood. My opinion, key factors: safe neighborhood, above average, safe schools, ease of job duties, make fun of the playground. Yeah. Do I live near Laguna Hills? Laguna Hills is probably 80 minutes away. It's a beautiful place. What about getting a foreclosure? Possible, but you still run into the same thing where the foreclosed homes here aren't actually that cheap. And usually foreclosed homes, you got to put a lot of money into it up front to make it to renovate it and that kind of stuff. So it's not like you just buy it and you move in and you're happy. Usually you got to do some work to it, which I don't have time for right now. Yeah, and another thing to consider is like anywhere I move now, I don't necessarily I don't necessarily think that it's going to be a long-term move. It may be only a year. So, because ultimately, I love Santa Monica and I want to move back there. So if I move out of Santa Monica, it's very unlikely that I would stay out because I really like that area. It feels like home to me. Let's see, San Diego. San Diego's 2.5 hours away. I would have to start my business completely over. In my line of work, like when I first moved to LA, it's kind of like being a real estate agent. You've got to build your clientele, and I'm very fortunate and blessed that I have such an amazing clientele here that is constantly growing. Usually the kind of clientele that I have could take 20 years to build, and I was very fortunate that I met the right people that helped me build it up very fast. And I would be very, 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 what's the word I'm looking for? Overconfident if I thought I could do it again just as fast in another city. I mean, I probably could, but that's taking a risk that's not necessary. And it would definitely cost me 2 years of rebuilding. And I'm not really interested in that right now. Yep. Driving in LA is sort of insane. I mean, I have a skewed reality of traffic and spending time in the car because I've lived in both Shanghai, China, Guangzhou, China, Lagos, Nigeria, and those places traffic are way more insane. In Shanghai, it's like having a car doesn't make any sense because you can get everywhere by the metro just way faster. And that was one of the biggest surprises for me moving to LA, was that there was not a very good public transportation system at all. Like no metros, like there's some, but they're not very like convenient at all. LA is spread out. It is not as, in my opinion, LA is 60 miles of suburbia with a little bit of city. Even though it's considered one of the biggest cities in the country, to me it's not a city, because when I think of city, I think of condensed. But that's also my bias from living in Shanghai. Stay safe. I'm just going to block Mercy really quickly. Goodbye. Terrible school systems, agreed. But then again, I don't really, I guess as far as terrible school systems, I don't really think that I'm going to rely on the school systems to teach my daughters. I'm going to teach them myself and also surround them by people that think differently, so that, because it's all about who you surround yourself with. Like for example, one of my best friends that we went and hung out with yesterday, he's a New York Times best-selling author, and he absolutely loves June. He's known her since she was born. So those are the kind of people I want her to be around and hear how they think, because I know me being around them has changed my perspective and made me think more business wise and made me think differently. So for her, she's going to be getting that from a young age. Anyways, a little side note. It's 1,000 to 1,600 for a room in Northern California. Well, that's cheaper. Well, I guess maybe not just for a room. It's pretty expensive. See, just seeing, trying to get out of this sunlight so I can see the screen. Cali is expensive, but as the saying goes, you make more and you spend more, so it levels out. The ceiling of what you can earn in specifically LA, San Francisco, the sky is the limit. If I have a business startup idea, I know exactly who to call for advice, and in a lot of ways, if it's a good idea and they like it and they believe in it, then I have funding, because that's the biggest reason that new businesses fail is lack of startup costs. That's a mortgage payment. Yeah, it can be. But mortgage payments here for a house that I like would be double what it would cost to rent. It's true. You lived in Malibu for 35 years. Yeah, Malibu school districts, besides having some drug problems, is pretty good, actually. Don't know how people make it in LA or New York. Well, LA is an interesting city. Most people come here. There's a huge population of people that come here for the entertainment business, kind of trying to make it in Hollywood. They usually last for a year or two and then they leave, or they make it. Like, for example, when COVID hit and I was living in West Hollywood, gosh, there was a for rent sign up in every apartment complex around me. And it was just like, it felt like it was just a mass exodus, because it was pretty much all the entertainment industry leaving, because there was no work, studios were shut down, there was nothing to do. So they were like, well, crap, let's just go home. You're basically paying someone's mortgage renting? Yes, you are. This is true. But the smartest people that I know that make a lot of money, they always say, rent until your passive income pays your mortgage on your dream home. So, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I'm setting up passive income sources so that until those get high enough to pay a mortgage on my dream home. So when I'm working and making money, it's not going towards paying for my mortgage. It's going towards other things to create more passive income. If you want to talk about education and the housing market, I mean, we are kind of brainwashed into thinking that the standard of success is being a homeowner. Well, let's put it this way. If I went out and bought a home now, I'd have a mortgage of between probably $12,000 to $13,000 a month, which I could pay for, but I wouldn't have. But I'd be working my butt off to make sure that was never a problem, and I wouldn't have a lot of excess money. Like I wouldn't have as much excess if I did half of that, right? So basically, that's what you call house poor. You spend a large percentage of your income on your housing, and even though you're building equity and you are a homeowner, and eventually you'll hopefully be able to sell that for more, you don't get rich that way. The way you get rich is by creating a bunch of passive income streams and then living off of that and then continuing that process. So being a homeowner and thinking that that's the metric of success is what the banks want you to do, because what they do is they take your money and then they can take that money and they can loan it out 10 times. So they want people to put down those 10 or 20% down payments, because then they can take that money and loan it out 10 times. So make sure you understand where these common belief systems come from, because it's brainwashing. How about 2 years ago at 2.75%? That's great. Sorry about the rant. I mean, some of you outside the United States, I know in, like, for example, Nigeria, like, you don't really take out home loans. You either have the money cash and you pay for it all at once, and then you're basically a homeowner and you never have to worry about paying for rent again. But that's just not the way it works here in general. What book is it? It's called Shortcut Your Startup. So it you can, it was a New York Times bestseller in like 4 years ago or something. So you can read it if you like. It's about how to start up a business, a mass scale business, not a small business. I should teach a class about this? Nah, I'm not qualified. I haven't done it, so you shouldn't take advice from somebody that actually hasn't done something yet. And I'm not an expert. I just listen and I learn. Yeah, I had a I don't know why I'm even saying this. I had a patient offer to let me live in their house because they have several and just pay what they're paying. But I refused because I didn't want, one, it had a pool, and two, it's like, man, you could rent this house out for $25,000 a month. What kind of friend would I be if I'd let you rent this to me at the price that I could afford? Like, I just, it was an integrity issue and a pool. I didn't want that. So anyways, I'm going to drive to the next house before, make sure I have time for patients and sunlight. So I'll be back in just a little bit. So anyways, I will be back in a little bit. I'm going to go look at another house. I think it's about 25 minutes away. That's the thing about LA. You spend a lot of time driving, and I have a Hummer, so I spend a lot of money in gas. But I drove around a Honda that was too small for me for too long, and I just got tired of being in a small little car. And, I needed to buy something bigger for the girls, of course. So a Hummer it was. And I feel like I could plow into someone, and this thing is like indestructible compared to that Honda I was driving. All right, catch y'all later. I'm gonna go look at the next place.